Good afternoon, Nick Maloof here. Many of you know me as an attorney or as a real estate broker. Some of you know me as a business broker, but many of you don't. And one of my most interesting facets of my business is the business brokerage world, the business brokerage community. I was a business broker many, many years ago, back in law school, and I am very proud today to be a business broker for Murphy Business and Financial here in Northern California. With me today is one of our newest business brokers, Terry Watts. He's been doing great. He's been doing really, really well in the business brokerage field. And we're talking together today to educate you about what it is to be a business broker, who might need one, and that sort of a thing. So welcome, Terry.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So how did you become a business broker?
You made me do it.
I did. I remember that very well.
So I'm a long-term business owner. I've had multiple businesses over the last decade or so. And as I thought about my future and what I wanted that to look like, I decided I want to get into something a little more passive than business ownership. So I looked into real estate and was looking to educate myself on real estate investing, got my license and started interviewing brokers, and came across Nick through a mutual acquaintance. And after talking with Nick, I remember very clearly he said, "You should be a business broker," which I think the same thing was said to you at one point,
right?
It
absolutely was. I was about to head into law school. I had some time to kill between undergraduate and law school, and I got my real estate license, and I walked into what was then a Century 21 office. And I thought I'd be selling homes, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing so. I do that today. However, in speaking with them and them speaking with me, they said, "You should be a business broker." And they introduced me to the person who at that time was in charge of the business brokerage division of their office.
Yeah.
And that wound up being a wonderful thing for me. And it seems like it's been a wonderful thing for you too.
It's been a great thing. I love being a business broker, working with entrepreneurs, working with business owners, working with people who want to get there. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that you enjoy about business brokerage?
There is. I mean, one, I'm a business guy, so business people like to talk to business people.
Right.
It's a different world. It's a different mindset.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that part of it, but I particularly enjoy helping people move to the next stage in their life. So whether that be somebody who's looking to retire after 20 or 30 years in their business, or what I really enjoy is new people coming into business. So I remember very well my first business. I knew nothing. I thought I knew a lot, but I didn't know much. So I really enjoy helping new aspiring business owners get into their own business.
Sure. Business ownership, as you know, and as I know as being self-employed, is unique in that there are so many different directions a business owner can take in how they run the business, how they encourage and how they retain employees, how they market, all kinds of different things. So when you're working in a business brokerage capacity, you're kind of giving your clients an overview of how they've done, what they could do better, and then ultimately giving them a value of what they've created, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Sometimes it's shocking. And you know, every business owners are in love with their business or they hate it. But a lot of times they put a lot of time and energy and passion into this. They built a legacy.
Right.
And sometimes that legacy doesn't translate as well as we'd like to dollars and cents when it comes to passing on to somebody else. So that's part of the reason it's so important to work with the business broker as early as possible so that we can take that legacy and get the maximum value out of it.
Right. All that is very true, but there's also another side to that, which is a lot of folks, when preparing for retirement, don't take into account the value of their business.
True.
A sad number of them just think that they'll just shut it down. And they don't realize that if they prepare a little bit, or even if they don't, their business probably has value that can help them in retirement. And they don't simply have to close the doors and walk away and not receive that value.
Yeah, in fact, I've got a client right now that was in that same boat. Late last year, he was going to shut his business down. He's in the home services business, and he had told his family that he was going to wind it down. In fact, he did start winding down the business. And his son said, "Hey, Dad, you should try to sell it." So lo and behold, Dad calls me up, says, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And we've got it listed for nearly $1 million now.
Wow.
That is his retirement.
Wow.
And he was just going to close the doors.
Well, what a significant asset he was about to walk away from for whatever reason, that you were able to come, provide a valuation for, and help explain that his retirement could be quite different than what he was about to subject himself to.
Exactly. There's no reason to just shut down something you put the last 20 or 30 years into.
No reason at all. So when you're working with a business owner and they're approaching you looking for guidance, what tips, tricks, how do you approach advising them in establishing value? How do you approach advising them, or how would you advise those watching this video to structure their business so that they can maximize value?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, value comes down in most businesses to profits. Now there's a lot more that goes on top of that, but at the end of the day, it's profit based, and we're going to apply a multiple to it. It's a whole process to come up with the value of a business. But the best tip I can give is if you're watching this a couple years in advance, you're thinking about retiring in a couple of years, call me now, because there's things we can do now in order to maximize the value of the business. We can look at either increasing revenues, reducing expenses, changing the employment structures, cleaning up the books. All of those are going to serve to increase the value of a business and make it more desirable to the person who may be looking to buy your business.
Sure, really, really good advice. And not to get too much into the weeds, but when you help sell a business and you help get a business financed for the buyer that you find, that lender is looking at 3 years worth of financials.
Right.
Maybe a little bit more, but generally not much less. And so if that business owner that you're speaking of is a couple years out or 3 years out or maybe even 5 years out, start preparing now.
Yes.
So that value can be maximized, and maybe some of the deductions that you currently take can be taken off the books so that enhanced value is achieved at the time of closing things up.
Yep, absolutely.
Right.
Part of my process is to find all of those what we call add backs, but I'm a little more generous than the banks. So we do, if we have time, want to clean those up so that everything added back is going to be the same things the banks will accept.
And sometimes the buyers are more generous than the banks too. They understand how a business could or should be operated, and they understand the wiggle room that's afforded a business owner when they're dealing with their books and records. Not to say that anything illegal is going on, but there are certain liberties that a business owner has that most take advantage of, which I think is to be expected.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason that we get into business, because we have the flexibility to set our own hours, to hire our own people, and to run our books. So it's a wonderful industry to be in. I love being a business broker.
Yeah. And it should be said that business brokerage, in the context we're talking about, you've mentioned that a lot of value is driven essentially by the profitability of the company. That is for really Main Street business brokerage.
Main Street, yes.
Right? I mean, there are plenty of companies that go to market on the NASDAQ or otherwise where there are no profits yet, and yet they trade for not even multiples, because multiples of zero is zero. They trade for high numbers despite that. Our focus is not those kinds of companies. Our focus is the smaller companies that are typically financeable through the Small Business Administration, generally 7-8 million and down, and could be way down, could be rather fairly low transaction price. But that's the range we're talking about, and those are very, very much profit based. So
Exactly. Yep.
Right. Well, really good speaking with you, Terry. Thank you so much.
Likewise, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So if any of you have any desire to speak with me or Terry in regard to business brokerage matters, the different areas of the law that I help with in terms of business and real estate transactions, or something maybe commercial or residential real estate related, these are all things that we do, and I've got great people like Terry to help with all the different facets. So thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, thank you all.